I'm Jonathan, this is Lexi, and we're here to help you be a better landlord.
So today we're talking about security cameras.
Yes.
Where can you put them? Where can you not put them? What's creepy? What's not creepy? What's illegal?
Okay, so first of all, where can you put them? You can put security cameras technically anywhere, but you probably shouldn't.
No.
So you can put security cameras in common areas or exterior. I would say do not put them in interiors like kitchens, certainly not bathrooms or bedrooms. Really, there's not a great reason to put a security camera inside the rental unit unless in some very specific cases. But I would say just don't do them inside.
Right. And how does that work with audio recording?
Yeah, most security cameras record video as well as audio. You can turn that off, but I think it's fair to assume that any of these is going to be recording both.
Mm-hmm. And you can do both.
You can do both.
Wow.
So if you're installing cameras anywhere, you want to make sure your tenants are aware of them. You don't want to ever try to hide these cameras. You want to make sure the tenant knows that it's there and make sure it's in the lease agreement why they're there, and also probably explain that to your tenant. Because naturally, people, when they're moving into a new place, they're going to be like, why am I being surveilled? So you better have a good answer.
And always check your local laws because you never know.
Absolutely.
So what are the benefits of security cameras for landlords? Why would you put a security camera?
Yeah, well, a lot of the same reasons you would put one in your primary residence. So property protection, tenant safety, liability protection, and to catch any lease violations. Those are going to be why you would do it. But again, if you don't trust your tenants enough to stick to the rules of your lease that you need to put cameras in there to catch them in the act of violating that lease, they're probably not good tenants, or it's just not a good relationship, and you should probably just get new ones.
Yeah.
You don't want to be so worried about your tenants taking advantage of you or damaging your property that you put cameras everywhere. That's crazy.
And weird.
Agreed.
Yes. So what's not allowed with security cameras?
Yeah. Well, recording audio and video without consent. That's the part where, again, if you have cameras, you want to make sure everybody knows that they're there and why they're there. And make sure it's in the lease agreement, because the lease agreement is signed by everyone involved, meaning that is where you would get consent. Installing hidden cameras, absolutely not okay, or using footage for anything beyond security purposes. This goes back to having a really good reason to install cameras, that if you're just putting them in there so you can say, hey, look how silly you looked as you walked to your car this morning, nobody's going to want to hear that. They're going to be like, please don't watch me.
I'm leaving. I'm gone. I would definitely not feel comfortable with that.
Nobody would.
Of course. So then how can landlords inform tenants about security cameras in their rental properties?
Yeah. Again, it's that lease agreement. So if you've already gotten the lease signed and there wasn't anything in there, that's okay. You can create a lease agreement addendum that basically just says, here's the deal with the security cameras. There are 2 of them. They're in these locations. These are the reasons I put them in. You can or cannot see the footage if you would like to. Make those things available, and your tenant may be more likely to say, yeah, that makes sense and I'm okay with this.
Right.
Because, for instance, if you're putting one in because somebody keeps stealing packages off the porch,
Porch pirates,
then your tenants probably will be like, yeah, we are all for that.
Exactly.
Or if their car's getting broken into and you're putting a camera in for security purposes, those are great things.
Yeah. And they're really common. I mean, I think most homes these days have some sort of ring camera or exterior camera for various reasons, especially in, whatever neighborhood you live in. It can be good for just to have that deterrent out there. So
I have 5.
You have 5?
Yes.
I was about to say, have you ever lived in a rental property with security cameras?
Yeah, but they're ones I put in.
You put them in. The landlord didn't put them in.
No, but like if I, in the past I lived in a multifamily building, there would be cameras in the hallways.
Right.
Which is fine. Hallways or entrances or like laundry room even makes sense in a multifamily. In a single family home, I think it makes less sense.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I don't know if I've ever had one that I didn't put in also myself.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if I had a landlord that did do that, but I feel like if I was a landlord, I would want one.
Sure. I mean, entrances, definitely, right?
Yeah, and you'd be surprised. There are a lot of people who have Ring cameras but don't actually set them up.
Yeah. Yes.
Not very cool. So what are the consequences of violating security camera laws?
Yeah. If you violate tenant privacy, that can lead to bad stuff. It can lead to fines or lawsuits, even criminal charges, depending on what you captured and why and what you did with it. So, don't go there.
Don't be weird.
If ever you're wondering, should I put a camera in? I'm going to go ahead and say the answer is no. Because if you have a really good reason, then you're not going to question it.
It's easy. Right.
If your tenant says, this is the 5th time this month packages were stolen off the porch.
Right.
I think we can all agree a camera would be useful in that situation. And it sounds like your tenant probably will be totally cool with that too.
Right. Again, and those shared spaces is what's really being covered.
Absolutely.
Right? It's like my current building also has a camera so you can see kind of who comes in and goes
Yep.
out.
Yeah.
And it's just for safety.
Yep.
And I think that's a really reasonable thing. But you don't want to have that pointed at someone's door.
No.
Front door.
No. Or
bedroom door.
their kitchen or hallway. Or
Bathroom door.
These are all weird.
Doors.
Don't. Just don't.
So what if, let's say I'm the tenant, I want a security camera.
Yeah.
But maybe the other tenants don't, but I do.
Ooh.
Making it spicy.
Yeah, you are.
I'm targeted
Okay.
by porch pirates.
Okay.
They know me.
Anyone else's name, they leave the package alone.
Yep.
But Lexi,
Right. Lexi, they're like, this is now mine.
they like what you order.
They might. So if I'm a tenant,
Yeah.
what would I do if I go to my landlord and I want a security camera? Am I paying for it? Is the landlord paying for it? It is
Yeah.
his house. It's not my house.
So I think that's what you would need to figure out. So if the tenant comes to you and you are the landlord, then you should have that conversation of why do they want it? First of all, is it porch pirates? Is it crime? Is it just a safety thing? I don't know. So figure that out first. And then from there, figure out who pays for it, who has access to the camera.
Right.
So these cameras, pretty much all of them now require some kind of subscription. So you have to buy the thing itself, the one-time purchase. Then you have to pay some kind of monthly fee. And then they connect to the internet. So if your tenant pays for the internet, it'll be using some of that bandwidth. So I think just figuring out all of those steps along the way, that if they install it and they're paying for the monthly subscription, do both of you get access? What happens when they move out? Do they take it with them? Have all that ironed out.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so what if I'm a landlord and I put up a security camera and I have tenants tampering with it?
Ooh.
They're up to no good.
Well, again, this is where you would fall back on the agreement that you have in place. So whether it's the lease agreement or a signed addendum, you have something in place notifying them of the camera, its purpose, its location, etc. So if they're moving it, then you could say, hey, reminder, this is in the lease agreement. I've got it here because Joe next door keeps coming over and breaking car windows for funsies.
Yikes.
Yeah, we need it. We need this camera. Don't move it.
All right, $1 million question. What security camera should you buy? Because there are a ton on the market.
There are a lot of cameras out there. You want to go with one from a brand that you actually recognize. There are a whole bunch of these kinds of smart home gadgets that are made by weird knockoff companies. You can go on Amazon and there's like a million of these and their names are normally like a cat just ran across the keyboard. You don't want those. You want something from a company that's still going to exist in a few years.
Yep.
So that, Ring is one of the big ones. Ring got famous for their doorbell cameras. Those are great. Ring is owned by Amazon. They're not going anywhere. Arlo, I didn't say that one. I'm just going to keep saying names. There's also Casa with a K. That I think is owned by TP-Link or someone else. Like there's a lot of these things out there. There's a Eufy is another one. Yeah, so go with something that seems like it is from a legitimate brand that not only supports it today, but will also support it in a few months, a few years. Because these have come down a lot in price over the last 5 to 10 years, but they're still not super cheap, right?
Right.
And like I said before, most of these have a monthly subscription. So
that's what I would say. Like, look at the monthly subscriptions
Absolutely.
for some of these because they're all different and you never know what you're getting into. Like, I bought a few and then didn't even know what the subscription was until I got the app. And then, they tell me, oh, it's going to be this because you're syncing everything to the cloud, or are you going to have a micro SD card? There are a lot of different ways that you can be recording things. I know there are also cameras that just take photos with movement. So depending on what your needs are is what you need to be looking at.
Yeah. Look into the camera's functions. Look into if you're not going to pay a monthly subscription, what do you get for free? Because some of these, they'll record everything for 7 days, but then it starts erasing things that are older than 7 days. That's not going to be very useful if you're trying to find footage of Joe from next door breaking car windows.
Exactly.
And it happened 8 days ago. Well, you're out of luck. So in a lot of cases, especially if you're doing this for security, paying for that subscription actually is worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And making sure you have 4K as well.
Absolutely.
Just because, especially at night, it can be a big difference between being able to see a license plate or a face versus just a blob.
Yep.
I have personal experience with this.
If you out there have any more tips or questions about putting cameras in your rental properties, leave them down below. Thanks for watching.